How is it going? Thank you guys for joining me for another video. We are right in the prime spot for draft season and I have my rankings out of the way. I'm gonna share with you guys my top 3 picks in every round. I'm gonna go over the top 10 rounds. I'm going to also be looking at it from 3 different spots. So from the first 4 picks in the round, who am I looking for? From the middle 4 picks, and then from the final 4 picks. I'm doing this based on a 12-team league, normal starts, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex. If you have questions for league settings outside of this, drop those in the comments section down below. I would love to be able to help you out. I am going to be doing this also based on half PPR, like I do in all my videos, and the ADP that I am pulling from is from fantasypros.com. I want to walk you guys through the reasons why these are the players that I am targeting so that we can build the best possible team. Now usually for me, that means going best player available throughout, but everyone has their sort of styles that they prefer. You guys do what works best for you. At the end of the video, I'll also give you my overarching way that I like to draft so far that I found in 2023, what seems to be most consistent and successful for me. With all that said and done, like the video if you enjoy the content, make sure you subscribe as well. We are crushing it and on our way to our first 1,000. Haven't done it yet, you can click the button and be a part of the journey. We're going to start in round 1. The guy that I love targeting if I'm in between the top 4 picks is Austin Ekeler. Right now he is the RB2. He has been an RB2 or the RB1 overall in half PPR over the last 2 seasons. Model of consistency and elite production. He had 107 catches last year, 5th most in the NFL. The Chargers offense was a top 10 unit last year, and they just added Kellen Moore, one of the great young offensive minds, to be their coordinator there. I think he helps Herbert take a step forward. I think Ekeler is a part of that. He's got 38 touchdowns over the last 2 years, 12 more than the next highest scorer. So he has been dominant. He will continue to be so. And if you're drafting at the 4, he is the worst that you should get. Obviously, if you are 1, 2, or 3, if you want one of the top 2 wide receivers, whether that's Jefferson or Chase, or if you want to go CMC, not going to kill you for it, but Ekeler is my guy in those top 4 spots that I like more often than not. Between the next 4 picks, between 5 and 8, Bijan Robinson is the guy I want to highlight next. He's the RB3 overall right now. Half of the running backs that have been drafted in the top 10 since 2011 have finished the next year as a top 5 running back. I think Bijan is going to continue that trend. He was elite last year at Texas at forcing tackles, over 100 forced there at a 40% rate. He has the size, the speed, and the skill set to be a true workhorse back at the next level. The Falcons are an elite run blocking team. They were top 7 last year. They will be there once again. Everything is set up for this guy to absolutely dominate. But those last 4 picks between 9 and 12 in the first round, Nick Chubb is someone that I would love to come away with here. He's the RB4. You will see a trend here. I think Chubb is the highest ceiling potential or opportunity this year from any year he's ever had, and that is because Kareem Hunt is gone. That pass catching work should shoot up. Even if it's not a lot, it gives him a higher ceiling. Deshaun Watson in this offense, a full year off, distractions gone, means top 10 potential for the Cleveland Browns as well. And he's been an RB1 in 4 straight seasons. Chubb has 8 touchdowns or more in 5 straight seasons. He's as dependable and safe as they come. Absolutely love him there. Into the second round now, and at the top of it, Amon-Ra St. Brown is the guy that I am loving. He's wide receiver 8 right now, 2,200 yards, 12 touchdowns in his first 2 seasons in the NFL. That is a heck of a start. He was 7th in fantasy points per game last year. So if you think wide receiver 8 is pricey for him, he just did it. on a per game basis. TJ Hawkinson is obviously gone. Jameson Williams is having that 6-game suspension that he has to worry about. That means a massive target share is incoming for a guy that dominated last year in efficiency metrics and on a per touch basis. He has plenty of opportunities to do that and then some for a Detroit Lions team that everybody is loving this season. Next up and in the middle part of the second round, Garrett Wilson, another young ascending wideout, is my guy. He's wide receiver 10 right now. And last year, he was the wide receiver 21 with complete and utter dumpster fire situations at the quarterback position. He also had 4 touchdowns less last year than what was expected, which means positive regression is coming. You throw in Aaron Rodgers into that equation. There is no competition for touches at the Jets' passing attack as well. There is a career year set up for Garrett Wilson. He could smash for us this season, and I love him as a mid-second round target. To end the second round, Ramondre Stevenson for me is still someone that I am buying in on and I want plenty of shares in 2023. This guy was a top 11 ranked back according to PFF over the last 2 seasons. Elite ability and efficiency. He was top 5 last year in targets and catches at the running back position. We absolutely love the upside that offers. And he was top 10 in touches, yards, and fantasy points, so he did it all for us, and that was with Damian Harris siphoning some of that work. Now, I know there is concern because they added Ezekiel Elliott, but guess what? The guy is a bum. He has been for a couple seasons. Sure, he will probably siphon a little bit of goal line work and a couple tutties, but overall, it is not something that I am sweating. Stevenson, for me, is still a top 10 back and a great pick at the end of the second round. To the third round now, and starting it off, another running back for me is Joe Mixon. Right now, he is being ranked as the last RB1 available. I have him way higher than that as he is my RB8 for a reason. This guy set career highs last year in targets, receptions, and receiving yards. And now Samaje Perine, the biggest threat to that work, is gone. So he can build on an already impressive ascension in the pass-catching department. Mixon was a top 10 fantasy player in points per game in 3 straight seasons. So he has done it successfully, efficiently, and at an elite level for a consistent period of time. The Bengals aren't getting any worse. Joe Burrow's injury also gives Mixon a little bit of a boost, I think. It probably isn't serious for Burrow, but that does not mean that they won't lean on the run a little bit more to help ease him in. In the middle part of the third round is where I think things start to get interesting. There's a couple different ways that you could pivot here. First and foremost, if you want an elite quarterback, and that is something that is important to your team building strategy, I think this is where you start to pull a trigger on it. Whether that is Mahomes, Hurts, or Allen, one of those 3 guys, there is value for them at this stage in drafts. I would not pull the trigger earlier than this, unless of course you're in a super flex league, but in a normal league that we are basing this off of, I am starting to pull the trigger on those top quarterbacks at this spot. And the other option is Mark Andrews here is the tight end 2 overall. This guy's been a top 6 tight end in each of the first 4 years of his career. He was 2nd in fantasy points per game at the tight end position when Lamar Jackson was at the helm last year. He also had a 29% target share, number 1 among tight ends, and there is really no true threat as a wideout in this offense. Zay Flowers brought in as a first rounder. He has potential. I don't know that we see it big time early. And then Rashad Bateman hasn't been able to stay healthy. And Odell Beckham Jr. hasn't been good in 3 years, at least productive wise. So there are plenty of reasons to love Andrews at this price point, and a quarterback is a good option here as well. To end the third round, my guy is Jahmyr Gibbs. He's currently going as the RB14. I have him as an RB1 in 2023. I think he has that potential and more. He's got 4.36, 40 speed, and he is elite in the passing game. The high value touches should be all his in this offense. People that are afraid of David Montgomery, guess what? He can take all of the low value touches he wants. It is going to be Gibbs who gets the majority of that passing game work, that third down work where he can break big plays. This is a Lions backfield that scored more fantasy points than any other team in the NFL last year. 501 points came from this backfield. So Gibbs, you project him to have a large slice of the pie. I believe he does. And he's doing all of that behind a top 5 offensive line, one that is very underrated. All signs point to a monster year from Gibbs. I would love to get him here at the end of the 3rd. Into the 4th round, and at the top of it, Calvin Ridley is the one I am trying to acquire. He's got Trevor Lawrence probably taking that next big step, and that means big time upside for Ridley. He also has the easiest strength of schedule in the entire NFL, so you love that. The concerns for Ridley, of course, he's missed some time, but he is still just 28 years old, so still in the prime part for a wide receiver. Now, at this price, you're really looking at the risk versus the reward for him. Ridley has monster potential. He was the wide receiver 3 overall back in 2020. So we know that he can blow the top off and help win you your league. The question is, can he do it after so much time off? You are passing up on people like Amari Cooper and Deebo Samuel in this range. I like them, but I think Ridley's upside cannot possibly be matched by either of those guys, and that is why I lean him here to start round 4. In the middle of the 4th round, another wide receiver is who I would love to come away with. It is DJ Moore from Chicago. We saw his big playability in that preseason game with that 60-yard touchdown. He has been a top 25 wideout. In 4 straight years, this guy's had a target share of at least 24% in every year of his career, and he will get that and then some in Chicago. There's no reason to think that that target share percentage is going anywhere. When we look at the quarterback play that DJ Moore has had to deal with in his career, being a top 25 wideout in each of the last 4 seasons is an incredible feat. He had Cam Newton towards the end of his Carolina career, 3 years after he was an MVP, Kyle Allen, Taylor Heineke, Will Grier, Teddy Bridgewater, PJ Walker, and then Sam Darnold last year. So he hasn't exactly had a bunch of superstars throwing him the football. Justin Fields easily going to be the best quarterback he has ever had to deal with, and that should mean a career year is coming for DJ. The upside for it is certainly there. Ending the 4th round, I finally pivot to somewhere other than wide receiver. It is Alexander Mattison here that I think is a great value, and another Viking in TJ Hawkinson would be a good pick as well. In the 4 games that Alexander Mattison got to start for Dalvin Cook in 2021, he absolutely went up. He was number 1 in the NFL in touches with 105, number 1 in rushing yards with well over 500, and he was also the number 1 scorer in fantasy football. So even if it is a small sample size, we saw elite production from Mattison, and it gives us hope that he can replicate that. I think he legitimately has top 12 upside in this Minnesota offense. It could be a top 5 scoring one after being top 10 last season, and there are very little tread in the tires as well for Mattison, which makes me love him even more. If you want that upper tier tight end, then Hawkinson is an awesome option for you. The guy averaged 9 targets per game in Minnesota in the 10 games he played in purple. He will be heavily involved in this offense, and I think he's the last true tight end that could take that overall tight end 1 crown away from Travis Kelce this season. Into tier 5, and when we started off, a wide receiver once again is here. I love Christian Watson at the beginning of the 5th round. He is currently going as wide receiver 24. I know that Jordan Love is a big unknown, but he has looked solid in the preseason, so that gives us a little positivity to work with. Watson was in the 85th percentile or better in yards per reception, yard per target, average depth of target and yards per route run last year. So he was an elite producer in those efficiency metrics, and he has the size to be a red zone monster. 6'4", 208 pounds. He's going to be an awesome target for Jordan Love, and I expect plenty of looks to come his way. It definitely took him a while to get going, but once he did, he took off. I think his upside is massive. He has legit wide receiver 1 ability. In the middle of the 5th round, another wide receiver in the top 25. It is Drake London. He's got the 5th highest target share last year at well over 29%. And there is a reason for it. He is a high target earner because he was absolutely awesome in almost every efficiency metric for the Falcons last season. He also showed big time upside in this Atlanta offense, even though they were a very run-heavy team. London was the wide receiver 20 from weeks 13 to weeks 18. That was when Ritter really started to take over for this team, and more importantly, London was able to do that without scoring a touchdown, so that's a more sustainable way we can look at what he could produce for us this year. He also has a top 7 strength of schedule, some really great matchups for him in 2023, and we forget very quickly, but London was the #1 receiver off of boards in 2022. Atlanta liked him enough to make him that first guy at the position taken. There is a reason for it. I think he takes a big leap forward for us and has legit top 15 upside at that wide receiver position. As we end the 5th round, if I did not take one of those top 3 quarterbacks, I think this is another spot where we can pull the trigger on one. I would love to be able to get Justin Herbert here. He is going as the quarterback 7. I think he has easy top 5 potential. He had the 5th most top 10 fantasy finishes last year with 8 weeks where he did that. And that was with that rib injury that happened early on that clearly threw him off. He also had injuries to the wide receiver position. Both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams missed time, and Herbert was able to put up a quarterback 1 finish anyway. The O-line should be healthier as well. Last but not least, the addition of Kellen Moore, the drafting of 1st round rookie wide receiver Quentin Johnston out of TCU. Everything is in front of Herbert to have a massive year. To start round 6, the guy that I would love to have is Deontay Johnson, one of my 2023 ride or dies. I think he is a layup bounce back candidate in 2022. Last year, he was top 10 in snaps, routes, and targets. He was also 13th in end zone targets. Out of all the wide receivers in the NFL, no one had an open rate better than Deontay Johnson. He was #1 in the NFL. He was also wide receiver 20 last year in expected points per game, and this guy is currently going outside of the top 30 wide receivers. Please make it make sense. DJ was not able to score last year. He had 20 touchdowns in his first 3 seasons. He's going to get a couple more tutties as well. And if Kenny Pickett takes a step forward, Johnson could post top 15 numbers. He has easy upside there, and we are getting him at a fraction of the cost. We remain on trend in the middle part of the round. Christian Kirk is the next guy that I am targeting. He is wide receiver 31 right now. I would love him in the middle of the 6th. This guy was top 20 last year in targets, receptions, yards, touchdowns, and fantasy points. He dominated, and he does have tons of competition for touches, and I get that. But the floor should still be solid in this offense. They were top 10 last year. They are going to be there or better yet again. And we have a cheap piece in the offense, and this guy could be the #1 wide receiver for the Jags if Ridley doesn't hit. So Kirk, underrated and a great option in the middle of the 6th. Mike Evans to end it would be the cherry on top. This guy is wide receiver 32 right now, and he's been a top 25 wide receiver in all 9 seasons of his NFL career. So you are buying him not at, but below his floor. Baker may have not be the most exciting option at quarterback, and I understand that. But guess what? The guy has never been shy about slinging it, and that will help Evans with his deep ball ability. Yeah, he might throw a couple more picks, but that does not matter to Mike Evans. Owners are being just fine with those opportunities. At the top between picks 1 and 4, Michael Pittman Jr. sits. He's been a top 25 wideout in back-to-back seasons, and now he is going as a late wide receiver 3. And he did those things with his quarterbacks being Matt Ryan, Sam Ehlinger, Nick Foles, and the shell of Carson Wentz in 2021. So this guy put up top 25 numbers with those dudes, and he's now going this cheap. I do not understand it. I think he is a steal for us at this part in drafts. The addition of Anthony Richardson leaves a bit of an unknown. I understand that, but it also brings a ton of upside. There is once again legit top 15 ability here. So maybe we were a year early in projecting the breakout for Pittman Jr., but I love him as a late breakout candidate this season. Isaiah Pacheco is a great target in the middle of the 7th. He's going just inside the top 30 running back, but he showed big time potential towards the end of the year for the Chiefs last year. He handled over 60% of the carries, and he played nearly 50% of the snaps there from weeks 10 and on. He also had top 4 numbers as far as rushing yards over the last 9 weeks of the year. The reason I like Pacheco so much is because of his upside. If he can carve out a big role in this Kansas City offense, especially at this price, those are the home run hitting type of picks that can win you your league. I get he has competition for touches, but if he wins out, he will be a difference maker. Ending that 7th round, Jordan Addison, another Viking, is a guy that I love this year. This dude averaged nearly a touchdown per game in college. He's just a couple years removed from a nearly 1,600 yard and 17 touchdown season for Pittsburgh. We have year 2 of Kevin O'Connell's offensive system, a system that looked awesome in the first year, that went top 10 as this team was learning it. Now, this is an opportunity for Madison to slide straight into a role that was left for him perfectly. Adam Thielen last year at over 100 targets. He had 700 plus yards and 6 tutties. I think that's the bare minimum that Addison is going to be able to do this year. And if he is an above average receiver, which Minnesota obviously believe that he is, to spend that first round capital, then he will absolutely smash those numbers. Finally, Minnesota has an underrated offensive line. Dalvin Cook is no longer there. This team will be even more pass heavy than they were in 2022, and they were one of the most pass heavy neutral game script teams in the NFL. Into round 8, I think this is another great time to take a shot at a quarterback. Deshaun Watson is sitting here. He's the quarterback 9 overall right now, and he has massive potential. I know he didn't look like it towards the end of the year, but if we look like what he did in Houston, 3 years, he posted quarterback finishes of 5, quarterback 2, and quarterback 6, while averaging over 33 touchdowns per year. I think he has that upside in this Cleveland Browns offense. He's got solid offensive line. He's got great playmakers around him. He also ended last year on a hot streak, which people seem to forget. He was top 8 in back-to-back games to end the season. And he also had the 4th most rushing yards at the quarterback position over the final 6 weeks that he was active. We know that rushing upside is a big part of what can make quarterbacks elite for us as far as scoring is concerned. Deshaun Watson showed he still has that ability. He legitimately has top 5 upside, and the cost here is too good to pass up. In the middle of the 8th round, Brandon Cooks is someone that I am pivoting to. This guy has been a wide receiver 2 in 7 out of the last 9 seasons, and he's currently going as the wide receiver 40, so you're not even having to pay a wide receiver 3 price for him. When we look at Dallas' situation, only CeeDee Lamb is a legitimate threat for targets here. Dalton Schultz is gone, and we have learned that Michael Gallup is just a guy. I think Cooks is going to offer you a solid floor and be a decent flex option week in and week out, and you're not even paying close to that price for him here. He was top 25 in route win rate in 2022, so he showed us he still has some left in the tank. He is a great value and floor pick here. To end the round, I am looking at a tight end if I have not already picked one up. Pat Freiermuth is someone I am heavily targeting. He was the tight end 7 last year. He's going as the tight end 9 this year. And last year, this guy only scored 2 touchdowns after scoring 7 as a rookie, so it doesn't make sense that he is going cheaper than what he was last year. Freiermuth rarely bottoms out. He gives us consistent production at a position that just does not have that. He posted 9 top 12 fantasy weeks in 2022. That was the 3rd most of any tight end. I think he has legit top 5 upside if he can take that number 2 pass catching role in Pittsburgh's offense. Into round 9, and this is another round where if you have not pulled the trigger at quarterback, there is some great value to be had here. In those first 4 picks, Tua Tagovailoa is an awesome option. This guy is going as the quarterback 11 right now, but he has way bigger upside than that. He led the league in passer rating, yards per attempt, and touchdown percentage as well. This dude was 7th in fantasy points per game in the 12 weeks that he played at least half of the snaps. So when he wasn't getting injured, he was absolutely balling out. He's got that Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill combination, gives us massive upside. The only question for Tua is if he can stay healthy. If you believe that he can, this is a great place to pull the trigger on him. In the middle of the rounds, back to tight end, David Njoku is an awesome option. We just talked about his quarterback, and that is one of the main reasons I love Njoku. He was 7th among tight ends last year in fantasy points per game in the 13 full games that he played. So yeah, he's been banged up, but when he is in the lineups for the Browns, he dominates for you. He had a 21% target share last year when Deshaun Watson was at the helm, and 2 touchdowns in those 6 games. So we see if all of those numbers can continue on and he continues to build that rapport, the sky is the limit for this guy. He has a legit path to the number 2 pass catching role in Cleveland. And ending this round, back to the quarterback position, Kirk Cousins is the quarterback 13. It's just once again too cheap for this dude. He's been a top 12 fantasy quarterback in 7 out of the last 8 seasons. Mr. Consistency. He puts up numbers. He doesn't get hurt. In 2022, he was top 5 in pass attempts, yards, and touchdowns. And believe it or not, the Vikings are 6th in the NFL in offensive touches since Cousins took over at quarterback in 2018. So he has continued to produce numbers. He will do that again in the best offense that he has had. There's an amazing floor for Kirk. The one knock I would say on him is he's not giving you weekly upside potential to win you your week. He is going to give you solid numbers, but he's not going to go over the top. To the 10th round and the last one I am looking at, it's a mixed bag here. I started running back with Jamal Williams. He's going just inside the top 40 picks at running back. What I love about him, 3 weeks without Alvin Kamara. He probably has that goal line role lined up for sure. Kendre Miller is already dealing with an injury and is playing with a brace on his knee. And his 17 rushing scores led the NFL last year, so he showed that he could do it at an elite level. Now, Derek Carr makes this offense better, just another added bonus. If you are looking for a lottery pick, I think this is a great option. Now, speaking of lottery picks, the next guy that I'm looking at is one of my favorites, Sky Moore, currently going as wide receiver 50. We forget so quickly he was a 2nd round pick just a year ago, and he started slow and his usage wasn't awesome, but in that he gave us a good glimpse at what he could become. Now, he didn't have a single game with a 50% snap share or higher last year, but he was top 50 in receiving grade and yards per route run. So he was taking advantage of those opportunities. He was also 6th in yards after the catch per reception, and his usage doubled as the season went on. Andy Reid felt more confident getting him involved, which is something you love to see from a rookie wideout. Last guy I'm going to look at is one of my favorite breakout candidates of any team, position, etc. It is Anthony Richardson, currently going as quarterback 16, which is pure madness. He's got the new head coach there, Shane Steichen. That guy helped both Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert develop. He was the offensive coordinator when Jalen Hurts was quarterback 6 in points per game his rookie year. We know that there are some question marks with Jonathan Taylor right now, but if we look elsewhere, there are positive signs for Richardson. He's got a solid #1 wide receiver in Michael Pittman Jr., who I am a believer in, and Alec Pierce also flashed last year in limited time. He was up there with players like Jahan Dotson as far as yardage, and he is not in that same conversation, but he needs to be. We know the floor could be low for Richardson, but at this point in drafts, we are looking for upside. Richardson has it in spades more than any other player this late in drafts. And that is the last player I am covering. So a quick and overarching review of what I am looking to do in most of my drafts in 2023. In those first 3 rounds, I want to take a running back, at least one here, and then most likely I am loading up on wide receivers. The only time I might not do that is if there is one of those top 3 elite quarterbacks that I love, whether that is Hurts, Allen, or Mahomes. In rounds 4 to 6, I am smashing the draft button on wide receivers, and I'm also taking a look at those top 4 tight ends. The last thing that I consider here is Herbert or Fields if the price is right, but I am certainly not reaching at a quarterback. This is that running back dead zone we're avoiding. Smash that wide receiver and look for value at that quarterback and tight end position. From round 7 and 8, I'm looking to fill the gaps. If I have not taken at least a couple shots at running back, this is a good place to start doing that. In rounds 9 or 10, if I have not drafted a quarterback, this is where I am trying to do it. Look for the value if you have not already done so. Otherwise, load up on those wide receivers or running backs wherever you feel like your team is weakest. Please make sure you crush the like button if you enjoyed the content today, and subscribe to the channel as well. Get Relentless Press to those first 1,000 subscribers. I appreciate all of my current subscribers. I could not do this without you guys. Please make sure you have your notifications on. I have shorts coming out every single day, and I wouldn't want you to miss anything. Also keep an eye out. I will be updating my rankings with tiers as well as we hit this final week before drafts conclude. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on your favorite picks in certain rounds. Please drop that information in a comment down below. I love the engagement. Have a fantastic week. Good luck if you're drafting anytime soon. This is Relentless Press. I'm your host, Abraham Opaz.